Okay, well now we're going to get another lesson about what makes the C.B. Fisk organs special, and this particular type of organ special as opposed to one that is run by electricity, right?
Right. Right. For hundreds of years, pipe organs were tracker action or mechanical action pipe organs. In the 19th century and the early 20th century, pipe organs were made using electromagnets and switches because that opened the possibility to making much larger instruments. But the organist lost that direct contact between his finger and the valve at the base of the pipe. In 1960, Charles Fisk led the movement to return pipe organ making in America to mechanical action. And mechanical action is quite simple, really. When one presses a key, like this, the key is actually like a rocker, and the back of the key goes up, and it pulls this little rod called a tracker. And that tracker, through a series of levers, goes into the inside of the organ and directly operates a valve at the base of the pipe. So just like when you pull a cork out of a bottle, you feel that pop. When the organist plays a key, he is actually feels that partial vacuum being broken and has a direct feeling and control over that moment when the air enters the base of the pipe to make music.
Now how, see, the action of that being raised, the key or the piece of wood that goes back there that's attached to the cable, the carbon
tracker,
tracker rod.
Fiber tracker, yeah.
How accurate, I mean, does that have to be so that there's true, you know what I mean? Because there's a long space between where that is, where your finger is pressing the button, that the movement up on the, is it an arm or what do you call that?
This is actually the tail of the key.
The tail of the key.
Yeah.
So you only have like that much play, but that has to control something that's pretty far away.
Excellent question. Right.
Yeah?
Right, yeah. Our enemies are things like free play or slop,
Right.
unwanted motion, and friction. So everything, and mass. So everything I do in designing and building key action at Fisk is designed to minimize mass, to minimize wasted motion, and to minimize friction, so that feeling the organist gets at the end of his key is true to what's going on upstairs. So the keys have to be stout enough but light enough, which is why the keys are made of sugar pine, which is a very light wood, but they're made in a tall cross section so that it's a rigid beam. Right. They're connected, in our organs we use carbon fiber. Carbon fiber is what's called a brittle material. It has essentially zero stretch. If you try to stretch carbon fiber, it breaks. But try to break it. It's extremely strong, extremely rigid. So you come from this point for this rod going up and down to a series of we call them squares. They're actually a bell crank up into the organ.
Let's open up.
Let's do that. Let's look.
Let's look underneath here, because from there, I guess it goes, those carbon fiber rods, they travel under the floor.
They do. They do. So what I'm going to we're not on film now.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah, we're filming.
So what happens when the tail of the key goes up and down, which is up here, is these rods, which are very hard to see because they're black carbon fiber, connect to these things we call squares. They're a bell crank, and they just transfer the motion from a vertical motion to a horizontal motion, which then goes into the organ. So beneath the floor, between the console and the body of the pipe organ itself, are trackers. There's 61 trackers for each manual and 32 trackers for the pedal. Trackers are the mechanical rods which make the connection. And they travel through guides which are lined with Teflon. So the Teflon against the carbon fiber is a very, very slippery medium to the inside of the organ.
Excellent. Okay, now I'm shooting from behind the organ, and you're inside the organ. All right, and we're going to talk about how the transference between the front, the carbon rods that come vertically underneath the floor.
Horizontally.
I'm sorry, horizontally under the floor to back, and you can take it from there.
Okay. Earlier we saw how the motion comes from the keyboard down to beneath the floor and is transferred to the trackers, which run horizontally underneath the floor into the organ. Now we can show you, or am I crawling around, how the horizontal run of trackers turns the corner with another square, another bell crank, and goes vertically. Can you see that?
Yep.
And goes vertically into the roller board, and the action gets spread out into the organ. This contraption, this contraption is called a roller board, and what it does is it expands the reach of an organist, which is like 36 inches, the span of the keyboard, out to the span of the pipe organ, which is necessarily much bigger. There are thousands of pipes. Some of the pipes are this big by 16 feet tall, so they don't fit within the space of the keyboard. So the roller board is what transfers that motion horizontally. So we come up from a tracker.
So you're going from like 36 inches wide, the keyboard, to sometimes 10 feet or more.
Yes.
Of width of the pipes.
That's a true story.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is the
And you're also changing the order. The keyboard goes chromatically C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and the organ, it goes C, C sharp, D, D sharp. So it's balanced. We've all seen pipe organs. The shapes of the pipes look balanced. So what's happening here is you're coming up from the keyboard to a roller, and that roller transfers the motion from a vertical motion horizontally further out in the organ to a tracker which goes up to the valve of the pipe. Let's see if we can find one that's a little bit closer. I don't know if you can see this. Here's a tracker pulling down, moving a roller, and that arm on that roller, these rollers are going up directly to the valves that are in the channel leading to the pipes.
Wow.
You can't see those valves from where you are, but maybe we can take another shot up higher.
Excellent.